caught your weakest?
Well, that was it.
Well,
it actually is pretty much like that.
It caught us when I was doing absolutely nothing. Well, saying that, I was teaching kids across the kitchen table, so I was doing something, but I wasn't doing work. And then you rang us because I was making films. First one, Dairy Farmer, wasn't it? Yeah. So I was just created a series called Coping in the Crisis, just seeing what people were doing in the area, handling COVID. Chris rang us going, "You're doing exactly what we want to do."
Okay.
Which is based on local producers telling stories, and then so it began from there, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then I got involved with Food and Drink Northeast, and then we were there packing boxes for local heroes, delivering all the local heroes boxes on Fridays, doing all that kind of stuff.
All right.
And then we started to do a few more films. We did 14 films throughout for the Coping in the Crisis, and then we made Coming Home series. So I was on a fishing boat, I was everywhere, just making stuff, having fun times, and then commissions, and
then we had that fallow period where we were doing it. Fadley was focused mostly on business support and stuff like that.
Well, life went back to normal, didn't it, really? And we all the work came in, and then you go off and do your thing, and then all of a sudden, 4 years later, you're like, October, Dan, we need to do local heroes. We're going to make it a separate company. I'm like, all right, I'm in. So that was it. I was just, you're there, you're already prepped.
Yeah.
You get your bags at the door. You're going, right, just give us a shout, get the bat signal up. As soon as that goes up, I'm there. Yeah. And it was like, it's just the right time, let's do this. Because we both want to change our worlds a little bit.
It's interesting that, because I remember this is going back to 1987, when my father-in-law was closing his last shop in High Street in Sunderland. That was Notarianni's, the ice cream people.
Notarianni's? Yeah. I remember Notarianni's.
And I persuaded him that, after 60 years, it shouldn't simply shut the doors and that was the end of it. You've got to make a statement. You've got to do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there was another branch of the family still trading down at Seaburn, and they used to all be under the auspices of the grandfather who founded it. Mm-hmm. But as things go on, families break apart and so forth, which is all quite natural. But when you're talking about local heroes, and so I got him to put a full-page ad in the Echo, and it was picked up by a local feature writer called Frank Entwistle. Right. And he wrote a marvellous piece. I wish if I'd thought about it, I would have brought a copy with me, because he described that it was their place of choice as kids. If a wealthier aunt came to stay, where would you like to go? They'd all say, Notarianni's or Notarianni's.
Notarianni's.
Not Notarianni's, know. And one of the phrases he used, they all wanted Knickerbocker glories, and the old ladies, this is the phrase he used. He said they'd have a Horlicks, and as they sipped it delicately, they would say, nourishing, very nourishing, to justify their own self-indulgence. And I thought, what a great play on words that was, know.
That's fantastic.
He was a great guy, He was a great guy. It was a very sentimental piece.
Yeah.
Very sentimental.
What that completely reminds me of my childhood, well, because my parents are from Whitburn. And we used to get picked up every Saturday, right? And we used to get ferried off with the grandparents to the beach, where we'd go, have fish and chips, sit in the car, rain, sleet or shine, right? We'd sit in the car and everyone would have their own fish and chips, windows steaming up and all sorts, right?
Oh, yeah.
But my granddad's car was a three-wheel, blue three-wheel,
really?
Reliant.
All right, yeah.
So this full family team, right, crammed into this Robin Reliant, just sitting eating chips with the windows steamed up. That was every Saturday, and we did frequent, like, you used to go to bins now and again, bins?
Yeah,
and
bins.
And Notarianni's was a thing. And I remember it's the first time you're seeing a cup of tea in a glass mug, was kind of Notarianni's.
Yeah.
Because you never used to see it. It was always like a china cup or a mug or something like that.
Oh, you mean like the see-through glass ones?
See-through
Like the Lego
glass
ones.
mug, yeah. And I think it was one of those things, unique. And Notarianni's are it's the shape of a glass. It's the shape of kind of a sundae and ice cream and all that kind of stuff, isn't it? That's what
I think we've got some Knickerbocker Glory glasses in our garage, actually.
they're always tall, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's all of those kind of things, and that really reminds me of that. Childhood. But that was every Saturday with me. So yeah.
Anyway, what's that got to do with Dicksons? That's a Notarianni.
Well, I'll tell you what that's got to do with Dicksons. I love the pork dip on a Saturday as well, Michael. So that was you kind of had you sort of had your thing. Saturday was special day, you know. So you'd go out and you'd get something like that. It was a pork dip for me.
I got a phone call from somebody from our solicitors, and I probably hadn't used the partner before. A youngish fella, lovely accent, and he I can't even remember why he'd been put onto me or what it was about. But at the end of the conversation, he said, and his voice changed slightly. He said, do you have a shop on Prince Edward Road in South Shields? I said, yeah. Why do you ask? And why do you know? Because his accent could have been from anywhere. Yeah. And he said, because my dad used to take me in there every Saturday before we went to Roker Park to get a Saveloy Dip and a mince pie. And it is, you know, it's these things that kind of attach people to a place.
Oh, well, you're one of our questions on the menu.
You're one of our questions on the menu.
We do talk about Saveloys.
Saveloys, yeah.
You know, I've talked and waxed lyrical quite a bit about this.
Yeah.
But they are imprints on people's brains in the Northeast.
Didn't you get a customised T-shirt or something at some point?
I did. I got a T-shirt off you guys.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was a Christmas present. It was just before you started doing your merchandise. Was it not when you when was your birthday? Dicksons had a big birthday.
Well, we had it. Well, we've known you for a while. I mean, there was a 60th, there was a 70th. So I don't know. Could have been either of those. Well, the 60th would have been 2013, 70th 2023.
That would have been the 70th.
Right. Oh.
Yeah. And Chris sent me a picture. What happened was I talked about it every time I went to see Chris. So Chris is the MD at Dicksons. And I've been there, I've got to get some merchandise. It'd be great. I want to see your your illustration of a Saveloy Dip. That picture that I love, and I still see it all the time. And it's like one of those diagrams. It's kind of what goes into a Saveloy Dip.
Yeah.
So you've got all the separate elements.
Yeah.
I'd said to Chris, that'd be great, that on a T-shirt. Or even like a version of it, or an interpretation of it. And then it was Boxing Day. And I got a WhatsApp message saying Santa was a little bit late. I was meant to give this to you before Christmas. It was a picture of
that. Sounds like Chris.
It's a Dickson's T-shirt. Yeah. I've got it framed in the house.
Well, that was back in the late 80s, early 90s. We'd started to grow, and we had all sorts of different colours and logos and God knows what as we opened new shops. It was all over the place. And I somehow came across a chap who'd not long retired from one of the Newcastle advertising agencies, and he'd been a director there. And he was also an artist, well, surprise, surprise, in an agency. But Alan did stuff for me until he died back in, he's been dead 20 years, and that was one of the things he did.
Really?
I bought some stuff from him over the years. He gave me paintings over the years. He was a very gifted man. Yeah. And that's where that originated.
Do you remember, did he just do that like independently, or did you?
No. It was a commission, and I can't remember why. You get these ideas, and you know what the specific promo at the time was, or trying to it may well have been trying to explain what a Saveloy Dip was to people who weren't from immediately around here, because when you go any further north, I mean, we've got shops in around Bedlington and Blythe, Whitley Bay and so forth, Cramlington, and they really didn't have a clue what it was. So I think it possibly was something to do with that.
See, I didn't think this question was going to come up so early
I was
on.
gonna ask, can you explain it?
Because right, my memory goes back as far as I can remember. Right, I think I've told you this before. I still remember going to Jarrow Shopping Centre. My mum, skin on, skin off.
Right.
Saveloy, wrapped in paper.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, people from outside the region, or even some people I meet now who are, a bit younger.
Different generation.
What is it? What is it?
Yeah.
What is it, and why is it? And where did it come from?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question, and I can only speculate, really. There's been various versions of stories flying around over the years, but most pork butchers, and I would think that many listeners wouldn't even know what a pork butcher was anymore. So the pork butcher was the forerunner of the delicatessen. People couldn't say that much, and it would probably sound like foreign muck they wouldn't touch. But there was quite a move of German folks came across, probably from the slightly before mid 19th century, and they were predominantly from Baden-Württemberg, which is in southern Germany, just above Bavaria. And my grandfather's family were part of that tradition. His name was Kuch, K-U-C-H, but when people started putting rocks through his windows, he changed it to Cook quite quickly. And he eventually had a shop in what was Walworth Street, now Walworth Way in Sunderland. That's where he was. So they came across because two things. One, there was a tradition of primogeniture in southern Germany. So all the farms were fairly small, and if there were a bunch of kids, the firstborn male, of course, inherited the farm. The others could stay on and work for their brother, or if there was room for them, or they'd have to go and find their fortune somewhere else. And I suppose being fairly organised race, or being known as a fairly organised race, they actually had established night classes. This is true. And the kids were trained in how to cure a ham, how to cut a pig up, and God knows what.
Feels like the future of that now, doesn't it? It should be. That's what you'd want. You want to see that again.
Yeah. But any farm, probably in France, in Germany, and Italy would have done exactly the same. They would have always had a pig that went the journey in the autumn, and they lived off it mainly from cured products right through the winter. That's so. This was not unfamiliar territory to them. And the thing was that during that time, when England was really the industrial centre of the world, there was a great influx of people from the countryside, and who lived largely in very cramped conditions, very few facilities, and they needed cheap, nourishing food, and that's where the Germans came in. It's where the fish and chip shop probably came in as well. But I'm not a great advocate of that for obvious reasons. Having an axe to grind with Richard Ord. Cheers. So that's where it came from. So is it a type of Frankfurter, the Saveloy? It could be, but your guess is as good as mine. They're smoked.
Yeah.
That's the connection. They're naturally smoked.
Yeah.
And that's the big identifier. That would be part preservative. It's part for added taste and interest, and it would be a comparatively cheap meal. So it worked on a lot of levels.
Very intriguing, though, isn't it? Because when you think about that from a kind of food culture perspective for the region, if that is true, think about all those overlaps of movement of people. I mean, you talked about this a few times. It gives it it's a very powerful story. But I want to know how how the riffs started to happen. How did the dip happen? How did the peas?
Yeah, because you kind of made
Is that
something
just an
unique.
evolution over time?
Yeah, completely.
Wow. Well, I wasn't
I have to
around. I
ask you
can't
that.
really.
How does the Saveloy meet the dip?
All I can do
So
is.
I somehow expect you've got like a safe somewhere in Dicksons, and it's just got this one sheet of paper on it.
Yeah.
And it tells you that one story. I mean, it's not obviously true, but you open it and there's a big shining light and all that.
Yeah.
It's the protected Dickson's recipe and history of the Saveloy dip.
Well, I wouldn't have thought that there was anything that unusual about putting a sausage in a bun,
Yeah.
because that's effectively what it is.
Oh, it's a bit more than that. It's a bit more than that.
Oh, I know it's a bit more than that, but I mean, you look at the other two items are fillers, are they not?
Yeah.
So it's a cheap to make, nourishing food. You've got, I mean, peas pudding, Geordie dal, is wonderful stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's actually, I mean, if I can only recommend people try it microwaved.
Do you know?
2 minutes, 2 minutes, stir it, put it back in, another 2 minutes, stir it. Dear God, it really is Geordie dal.
Yeah. I think I've told you this.
You
My
mentioned
granddad
about
used
being
to
hot, yeah.
used to put your peas pudding when he used to buy it loose, and he'd just put it in a pan, add a tiny bit of hot water. You'd cook it off, and then he'd just serve it with a beef sausage.
Anything, it goes with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
nothing like it.
hey,
There's
there's
nothing like it.
nothing like
Beautiful.
it. But But people either love it or hate it.
Yeah.
And
Well, clearly you love it, Michael, because you shut your eyes when you describe that. So it's kind of, there's a passion in there. What, did you like it as a kid, though? When was the first time?
I remember watching my Uncle Tom take a Hessian bag out of a pressure cooker and tip the cooked peas into a big bowl, whisk, bit of hot water, salt and pepper, and then to produce something that was spreadable. And of course, in those days, I mean, if you won't let our technical manager hear this, will you? But as a little boy, I would be able to do that, and I loved this stuff.
Yeah.
Wasn't when he was in the middle of producing it, but when there was a big bowl left and there were things left on the side.
Yeah.
He also realised that I was a big fan of pastry, but I didn't like meat at all. I used to love pork pie pastry, boiled pastry, and so he got the idea of cutting a pie in half. It had to be broken pie.
Right.
Because if my father had seen him wasting a pie, there'd have been hell on. So he took the meat out and poured hot peas pudding in it. I ate that for probably till I was 20, and it's just a taste sensation.
Never heard of that
I want to
before.
try that.
Yeah. But-
I have had a peas pudding pie. Well, there's a chef, Dave Kennedy, who I know quite well. He used to have a business called Kennedy and Rind, and he started making what he called it a pig and a peas. So it was like potted pork or shredded pork with peas pudding. It was delicious.
Like a pork
You
pie.
used to put,
with the
you used
jelly
to
in it,
put
you
a pig's nose on it and everything.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I suppose as I got older, when I did really like pork pie filling, I would sometimes I'd cut a lid off and pour hot peas pudding on top of it. And it was a bit messy, but my God, that was...
You're creating your own meals here. You're creating your own unique kind of
I know.
bites.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's perfect, though, isn't it?
It
You
is.
kind of find out. Because, well, like, how do you get to a point of, like, something like the dip where you go, actually, should we stick some stuffing in that? Should we stick some peas pudding in that?
Yeah.
And that's how you get to anything. You just kind of try it and see if it works out. And
And by the way, I talked to two people who eat peas pudding out of a tub in the car.
we send each other WhatsApp messages of where, yeah. I had one with a spoon the other day, and then you sent me the.
I didn't have a spoon. I had to use it with my fingers.
You had to use your fingers, and I was like, "Why didn't you just bend the lid?" And then we had a whole conversation about how you eat peas pudding on the move. Well, there's always something to use to kind of eat the peas pudding, but we send like if it's peace pudding or tongue, we send each other a picture of,
Yeah.
of that because
Well, I got I went to school with one of the ice cream and cheddar family. Well, two of them really brothers. And Trevor, who they had a shop at the top of Prince Edward Road, which was my mum and dad's first shop. Once he left school, he used to often pop in to see me, and it was usually the same question: anything hot out the oven? And yeah, there might be some. I'll have a look. Anyway, he got on to the hot pork pie with peas pudding, and he'd have one of them while he was deciding what he really wanted.
yeah, waiting for
And he was that way all his life, Trevor. Trevor died a few years ago, but we're good friends.
Yeah. So, just trying to get this right. How many of everybody? So there was Minchellas, there was Dicksons, and there was like the Colemans. It seems like there was gangs coming together of all of these kind of food-related businesses.
Well, I don't know about the Colemans. No, Richard Senior. He came on a little bit later because he was down at South Shields Ocean Road and the beach, whereas we were at Hart and Nook.
Yeah.
And so we didn't our paths didn't
Inland and
cross.
coastal.
And plus
Yeah.
he went to school in Tynemouth, I think, or when he could be bothered. Ask him, he'll tell you. But Trevor was simply up the road, and so yeah, there was and his cousin Romano, who Romano died too, unfortunately. His restaurant still survives and thrives in Clevedon. He is my wife Marissa's second cousin because his mum was a Notarianni. So
I'm getting the connection. So your wife, you mentioned before, your wife's Italian.
Yeah.
You have a German background. Those two things come together. Okay.
Yeah.
Sense.
Yeah. Sorry, it's
not. It's just
confusing.
really interesting. It's not.
The difficulty is if you kick one, the whole place limps.
It's fascinating, though, isn't it?
It's
all
fascinating.
These businesses together,
but it's quite rare.
Around.
You know, like you look at your story now. You know, what do you say? 70-odd years old as a business.
73.
I mean, that's
72,
and still independent, still family owned. I mean, that's pretty unique now. When you look at the way business is churning and the way business develops.
Yeah.
Does that feel like? Do you feel like an anomaly amongst the rest of the business world now because you still have those roots still firm?
It must be. It's about 17, 18 years ago. It was difficult to know where our business was going to go. My late sister Chris and I, we were kind of, well, if you like, lumbered with it because my dad died when I was only 14, and even though we only had two shops at that time, I would think, and I've got to speculate, but they were probably employed about 35 people, so it was still quite a big operation.
Where were those two shops then?
There was the original one in Prince Edward Road in South Shields, and there was a bigger one that my dad bought early in the 60s, right in the town centre, that had been established there for 100 years. But that was starting to fail as the owner got older and so forth. So he came in and really took it by the scruff of the neck and developed something much bigger. But he died at 53, and that all ended up too much for my mum. And Christine had already left school. She left school at 16. But I suppose the plan had always been that I was going to do something more academic and get a proper job, if you like. You know, that was my dad's vision. But it just didn't work out that way. And I became more and more involved in it because when it's a family business, what happens? You work holidays, you work weekends. It's just what happens.
But did you have a resistance to it at the time? Do you remember thinking at all?
No, no. In a sense, it was almost a cop-out into the business because there was a degree of certainty about it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anything about business then. And I can assure you there's absolutely nothing certain in business. And it was only after I did my A-levels and joined the business, I realised just what a hill there was to climb here. And the same year, my mum got early onset dementia. So it was Chris and I, effectively, and all these people. And we somehow had to try and turn it around. And it was spiralling into disaster at the time.
How old were you at this point, Michael? Just after year levels?
I was 19.
19, and you've got that responsibility.
Chris was 20 and just 15 months older than me.
Yeah.
But so it was a nightmare. It really was a nightmare.
And so how did you handle it, and how did you get hold of it? And
how
did you get to this point now?
Yeah.
Because to go from kind of crisis and putting out fires to growing the business to what you have now.
Well,
yeah, you didn't have to, or did you feel you had to?
Well, only if you didn't want to eat, you didn't have to. No.
Yeah.
So there was no magic money tree somewhere, you know. Yeah. And people always look at a business and say, "Oh, well, that must be worth a fortune. Why don't they just sell it and live off it?" Yeah. Anybody's ever bought or sold a business knows that really doesn't turn into reality. Life's just not like that. So I think the important thing was that Chris, for all leaving at school at 16 and apparently non-academic, had a mind like a steel trap. And she was brilliant with numbers. And she did the basics, without which you couldn't function. She paid the staff, she paid the bills, she banked the money. Yeah. That's the starting point. She knew her way around a retail shop because she'd served behind a counter since she was probably about 13, you know. And I came in not quite sure what the hell I was going to do. I used to like to make pies. That was my default comfort zone, you know. But that doesn't really prepare you for trying to sort difficulties with staff and efficiencies and so forth. And you quickly found actually you had very little influence. I wouldn't do that, son. It was probably a default reaction to many suggestions I might have made. And so it was tough, but gradually Chris built on the administrative side, and I gradually built on the production side and the ins and outs of buying and God knows what, you know. And things happen. Somebody was retiring. He held all the secrets in his head and wasn't keen on sharing a thing. And there was nothing written down. I don't know how many products were made at the time, but it was all in here. And he wasn't really prepared to show me in a coherent way how anything could be followed. So basically what I did was all meat products have a basic, even back in those days, a basic meat content level requirement. So that would dictate how much beef or beef, pork, whatever it was, had to be in a batch of this, that, or the other. And I would look at the base meat part of the recipe and I'd think, well, why isn't the recipe bigger than that? Because that meat content looks way over what it needs to be. Because people didn't weigh anything. And there was lots of laughter when I suggested, well, you should weigh the water, shouldn't you? Weigh water, it's free. Yes, I know, but you need to know what the total weight of the batch is so you can set the seasoning at an appropriate level, don't you? Huh. There was that sort of... And then when it came to the actual blend of spices and herbs and so forth, it was all handfuls. And so basically what I did, I got the basic information and went in several nights running and converted a spoonful into a weight by doing it, say, 10 times and taking the average. You know, the end of a knife. It was this sort of stuff, which was probably fine 100 years ago. But how on earth are you going to build something on that basis?
Yeah.
Where you don't know what your recipe is going to be like tomorrow, or importantly, how much money you would make on it.
Yeah.
Because why would you weigh water? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it really important that the batch size was always the same? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's mad you've got to reverse engineer your own products. It is mad,
Yeah.
isn't it? You want the recipes in a way?
well, there weren't any.
Yeah.
There weren't any.
So did you start writing this down? Have you,
Yeah.
So have you got the magic book of all of the...
No, I don't have it anymore. See, our technical manager.
Yeah, all right.
No,
But at
it's-
least you've handed it on. At least
Oh,
somebody
yeah,
else
yeah,
knows.
yeah,
Do you know what
yeah. I mean,
That's
the
interesting. Did you
Yeah.
struggle to hand that on, or
Yeah.
were you quite ready?
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause it's
you've
your
come
work.
into the business. You've built this legacy.
because no, it had to be. It had to become a matter of public record, because if you wouldn't have to disclose, for example, a spice blend to a large third party customer. They want to know about allergens, added colours or flavours or whatever, but they're not really interested in what the percentage of nutmeg is to mace, or mace to oregano, or whatever it is. But that's only part of the picture. And to be honest, so it's locked up. It's locked up in the technical office, so the technical team have access to it. And the spice blends, they're done remotely for us by a company down in Bradford we've used for 50 odd years, so which you would probably have to kill him to get the recipe from him, So, aye, but it was a struggle. But without that, really, you couldn't have gone anywhere. And the strange thing was, I remember distinctly that the first day I stood in front of our butchery team and said, right, well, here we go then. And I don't think it would be stretching it to say they couldn't wait for me to fail. And I was absolutely panicked by 1 o'clock that day, because they would normally be there till 4. And I thought, what have I missed? I've missed something. Have I missed something? You'd be amazed how long it takes to guess how much to keep adding until you think it's right, instead of just saying it's 3 kilos.
It's deficiencies, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
That's the foundation that
Taking
took
a
you from
recipe.
2
that
stores
was
to-
it. And within 3 months, we'd opened our first extra shop,
Yeah.
because we had so much time on our hands.
Yeah.
So,
That's mad, isn't it?
Isn't that? I tell you what, though, but it's interesting from the perspective that you had 2 reluctant family members, not quite sure of what they were going to do or how they were going to improve the business, and yet you went in with the exact skills that were required
Yeah.
to take it on to the next
Yeah.
level.
You knew what to
You
do
sort
when
of
you did it.
stumbled upon them.
Yeah.
we didn't know that, though.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, I suppose, when we had to move out of that site, the bigger site that my father had bought, because it was going to be compulsorily purchased, and we were feeding another 3 shops out of there by the early 80s. So it was super efficient, but it can't be super efficient if they're going to knock it down.
Yeah.
So I had to go somewhere else. And then the decision was, well, how big does that need to be? And search me, I've no idea, because we operated upstairs, we had a cellar and the back shop. So, and you didn't have to supply one of the shops because it was there in front of you. So this was a whole new dynamic. And but we ploughed on. I would say that Chris was probably more uncomfortable about it than I was. But that's because she counted the money.
Yeah.
I never knew I never felt what the edge looked like because I didn't see it as graphically as she did. And then when it came to the second factory, the one we're in now, I mean, that was some big borrowing involved in that. And I just knew where we had to get to, and it was she who did more panicking than I. And rightly so, because I would sooner have bought a big new stainless steel machine than worry about how much was in the bank, which is not, but that, because it was a passion.
Yeah.
It really wasn't about the money, if you like.
Yeah.
It was about the desire to create something, you know.
Yeah.
That balance between those two individuals, though, is ultimately what give you that foundation.
Well, yeah, because
you had the, you had the
focus,
caution
isn't it?
and the passion
Yeah.
combined.
Yeah, because you need to spend your energy just doing one thing.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
It's interesting.
work.
So do you know, it's in, because I've met your kids,
Yeah.
Eleanor
and
Mike. So their journey into the business is probably very different to what yours was. I mean, what?
Very different. Well, we've got four, 2 boys, 2 girls. Eleanor's number 2.
Yeah.
Mike's number 3. And Eleanor, at least I suppose, when she was going to university, decided she wanted to do food science, but not because of the business, because there was never any preconceived ideas about succession. There weren't any. And Mike, when he went to university, he studied pharmacy. Right. And Eleanor came into the business after she'd worked for McVitie's for about 3 or 4 years, and didn't feel it was for her. And so she joined the business when Christine was still alive. And we were growing and investing at the time, so it seemed an exciting place to be. And that was the story of her introduction to it. Mike was very different in that I think he qualified in the early 2000s, so he must have joined. He'd been working as a pharmacist in Manchester for 10, 12 years. And then I should probably talk about succession somewhere in here. And then he decided that he was interested in coming in if there was a place where he could contribute, if you like. There was no presumption, and I'll probably need to explain why he would take that approach, because you would think, Dad, I fancy coming into the business, is that okay? Of course it is. It wasn't quite that simple. Yeah. And but anyway, he's been with us now 10 years next year, and he's the man who leading the charge on the new retail model that we're developing, and that's where he spends a lot of his time. But I mean, he cut his teeth on. To his great discomfort, he started with an apron on as a qualified pharmacist. Yeah. But how on earth are you going to run a group of shops unless you know how it works? Mm-hmm. And that's how it started for him, So quite a tortuous way in.
But it's interesting when you talk about succession, because I guess when I speak to other businesses, and I know Rington's really well, and obviously they're another big family business in the region. And they were really rigorous about succession and about who takes the lead next. And it wasn't just a case of, it wasn't a handshake and come on in, we'll get you a job. Yeah. There had to be a real business case and a kind of, I want to come in and I want to contribute. What can you contribute?
From what I remember, I think that they were also in the Institute of Family Business when we're no longer associated with them, but because I think it ran its course for us. But we, back in, I think it was 2007 or so, we started to think about succession. It wasn't as important for Christine, my sister, as me. But I needed to know what her vision for the future was, whether she was looking to retire in due course, and I was keen to know that because I mean she was my right hand, and you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And so it was important to know what her vision was. And it was it was an advisor that I was introduced to called Lucy Armstrong, who started to get us to think about succession in quite a formal way. And but first I had to put the plan to our four. Chris didn't have any children, and Christine's assumption was, well, why would they give a damn? Because don't forget, Mike wasn't involved, only Eleanor, and Eleanor would probably not wish to carry on long term either, you know. So the plan was that we followed a model, and I think it's probably similar to Rington's. We set up a family council, having first asked if anybody was vaguely interested in this concept. And the driver behind it was that we believe that if there's any desire to keep the business going into another generation, we have to do something about it. It's not just going to happen by accident. There has to be a plan. And that doesn't necessarily mean you all have to work in the family business. It means that the business may remain under family ownership, but not necessarily family run. Well, how's that going to work? Well, so that's when we started to get into the detail. But first we had to have their buy-in. So once we had their buy-in, Lucy showed us a model family constitution. And some of the main points in that would read that there would be a section on values and beliefs. And it centered around the idea that family business was good for the area it worked in and potentially good as beneficiaries under a trust we were going to set up that would be administered by independent trustees, not necessarily family members. This is to keep it clean. Yeah. So, you know, you don't get one voice that determines how things are going to fall, but it's done in a much more controlled and considered way. So the values and beliefs section, this idea that this was a positive force for good in the local community, and that it would also, it's a good business model, because family business tends to look at things in a generational way. If the local investment hawks get their eye on something they think they can make a fast buck on without understanding the business, it can easily be bought up, and you might get a good price for it. Who knows? It depends what its earnings look like. But will it be sustainable like that as just another cash cow in a portfolio of companies? Mm-hmm. Possibly not. It needs somebody still to love it, and that presumably would be the trustees and the family beneficiaries under the trust. They have a long-term vision that things work best when one hand scratches the other. Mm-hmm. When you look after your people and they look after you, you know. And it was pretty much on that basis. And when you talk about how folk qualify for work, it would be on the basis of their skill set. So a family member could apply for a position on the same basis as any other qualified candidate. Yeah. And sometimes they might get it, and sometimes they might not. But the difficulty being, if you're always going to favour a family member above someone who has relevant experience, you're in danger of killing the goose that lays the golden egg for not just the family, but for your people. So that's the sort of arrangement we have.
Okay.
And it's a bit convoluted, but it's proven. Most people in the IFB I know run similar models, and this is not just about the fellow who makes Saveloy dips. Yeah. From memory, I'm sure Warburton's were in it. You've mentioned Rington's. There are some big businesses, and it works. It works.
It feels like you mentioned it. Did you say the Association of Family Business? I've not heard that before.
Well, that was the Institute of Family
Institute
Business.
of Family Business.
It's still there, but that there are other variants of it, international ones and so forth. But I suppose we did what we felt was necessary, family council and family constitution and so forth. And to be honest, there seemed to be a lot of repetition in following that up, and it felt like diminishing returns. And when time's short and stuff, you think, well. But I mean, I did enjoy being a member for at least 10 years, and it served us well.
Yeah. Just mentioned earlier though, because they do feel like they're becoming few and far between family businesses. I think, and that's why you guys all stand out. And how. This is probably too big of a question, but when I think of Dicksons, I do think of heritage and you being rooted in a place and important to that community. Does it feel that way to you as the
well, it
guy
does.
leading the charge?
It does. And but I don't think that works just on a sort of sentimental level. And I'm not going to come on sort of the hard ass business head on that, but I mean the sorts of things. I think it is really important that that you've got a close relationship with your people, and that when you've got a personal connection. And I don't mean that in an unnecessarily sentimental way, but when you know your people and you do make an effort to understand their challenges, recognise their births, their marriages, and sometimes their tragedies, it makes a big difference. The people aren't just a unit of production, and that works well for the business because people want to work there. And at the end of the day, anybody can always get another offer somewhere else, and it's that interaction is really important to us to keep going, because there is much less the idea that management is distant and doesn't really get what folk have to put up with in a job or whatever, and I suppose it was in a strange way one of the things that I remember with some affection is our youngest son Matthew. He's a doctor, and he worked in the Northwest for about half a dozen years before he came up here. When he was transferred up here, he wanted a training position in the Northwest, so naturally the NHS sent him to the Northeast. But it didn't bother him because long term he wanted to come back to this area, and he was posted all over around here before he finally settled down. And strangely enough, his first position was at South Shields General Hospital. And there were two things happened. He went to check in with the medical secretaries one morning, and the following day he'd gone back to the desk for something or other, and this lady said to him, "Are you related to Michael Dickson?" And he was, "What? How? What makes you ask me that?" "Well, you look like him." "Well, how do you know him?" "I used to work in the office." But Matt also said, while the hospital in South Shields, he said he liked working there. But he said compared to some of the big places he'd worked around Manchester, It really was. It was a cottage hospital in comparison.
Yeah.
And he said, but you know, there's something nice about treating your own tribe.
Yeah.
And that just came out of the blue. And I mean, he'd been away from home for 15 years or something by that point, you know, and I thought, and he still felt like that about
Treating your own tribe.
treating your
What a
own
lovely way.
tribe, you know. And I thought that was summed up,
Yeah.
that summed things up nicely.
It
you
does.
know?
It does.
You know, the old thing, all together like the folks of Shields, you know.
I think as businesses grow as well, it's nice to hear that it is about the people and you still care. It's kind of keeping that attachment to that without forgetting that. Like, because some people do, some businesses kind of forget because just the natural way of how businesses grow, you kind of become detached, but it seems like you're still attached to it.
Very much so. And yeah, I mean, we everybody gets a birthday card. I know that because I've got to sign them all. But it does keep you attached.
Yeah.
And, you know, and as I said, marriages and tragedies and sort of babies and happy things, we like to keep in touch with that. And
Does that translate to obviously people sticking around? So you've had
I
staff
believe
who've
so.
worked with you for a long time.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we've had we've had a flurry of retirements actually these last 3 months, and it's quite scary because you've had people who've been with you for 20 plus years, you know, and there's a lot of that, and I think generationally that may begin to change. I don't know how long that will sustain, that we keep people that long, but we'll do our damn best to try to make sure we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't realise everybody else is. You're getting older with everybody else, but
I
you
know.
don't see that, do you? It's the same as your kids. You go, I can't believe, how old are you now? And then you go, actually, I'm growing older as well. So it must be quite strange to see people retiring from
Oh,
the
it is.
business.
It
You've
is.
seen them around forever, you know?
It is. Because I retired 9 years ago, sort of.
Or did you? Yeah. Retire.
Yeah.
No, well,
Yeah.
that just happened to be I'd already spoken to Chris, who came to us to head retail from McDonald's, and I'd already offered him the MD's job because I thought I'm not going to be able to do this forever, and he was champing at the bit. Well, you've met him, you know what he's like. You know, he's like a meerkat.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, and then not long after that, I got a note from Mike, who was looking to join the company. And I'm thinking, well, how's this going to work? But anyway, it's worked well. But I mean, I'm supposed. Well, no, I should not say supposedly. I've already told people that come end of this financial year, which has just started last week, June 30th, I'll only be around ever for quarterly board meetings and monthly management accounts. Yeah. So I'll not be around operationally. And I find that from the connectivity point of view quite hard, how that's going to work, because my mantra to Chris and Eleanor and Mike is, we got to be seen to be believed.
Yeah.
You got to be out there. You got to be out there. There are a few things more important, you know.
Yeah.
And somehow that's got to continue.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm not going to keep signing 350 birthday cards.
But what's that like for you now, kind of knowing that that's not going to be your daily, you know, since the age of 14 and 19? Do you know what I mean? It's been in you since you were a kid because you've been around it. It must be hard to kind of leave.
It is difficult, but there's a danger. There's a personal danger in that, and I'm becoming increasingly aware of it because that feeling of being needed, whether I am or not, is difficult to shake off. So it can be an excuse for not doing other things. I mean, a great way of relieving stress over the last since 30 odd years is I'd take myself off and go and climb a hill or a mountain somewhere, and I certainly did that before the second factory was built. I just had to get away from it because it was such a nightmare, and it was a way of recognising how when you're stuck in a wilderness alone in a rainstorm or fog or whatever, you don't really worry about the price of beef. You just think, am I going to get back down to my car?
Absolute perspective.
What's more stressful, being in the fog or worrying about beef?
Yeah, well, it depends where you are, because over the years there were a few close calls. But
so, do you still do this now?
I do.
Yeah,
I do, but I haven't done so much in this last 12 months. I don't know quite why. We did with some pals. I did a bit of the Camino in northern Spain back in May, and we did another stretch previous May, and but I haven't done much in the Lake District or the Cheviots of late. I'm going away next week, but I've been in South America and Africa a couple of times, Morocco a couple of times, and the Himalayas 3 times. Usual stuff like Kilimanjaro.
How was it?
Kilimanjaro was horrible.
Was it really?
It's not.
Put it on my
just
my list.
Yeah, because of the atmosphere,
The altitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's not just that. It's busy.
Yeah.
It's a very busy mountain, and you're effectively walking up a slag heap for the last 10 hours or something.
Yeah.
It's not attractive. Before I did that, we climbed Mount Kenya, which that was the first week of the trip, and I can still remember you climb through the night from high camp, and so you reach the summit. This is the walking summit. It's not the climbing's. The climbing summit is really climbing, and I ain't no climber. But I remember just clambering over the last 20 feet or something, and as I got to the top, the dawn was breaking, and you could see the curvature of the earth. I burst into tears. It was amazing. It was amazing.
And unexpected as well.
Absolutely unexpected. I did Kenya twice, not the same year. But
is this a recent thing as well over the years, or have you always been into walking?
No, I didn't. I just worked.
Yeah,
I was in my 40s before I think. Yeah, I was in my 40s really before about 39 or something before I actually started doing anything. And then there was a neighbour of mine. He came back from Nepal. He'd done the Annapurna circuit, and that I just thought, I've just got to do that.
Yeah, did you go from like 0 to pro really quickly, and did you get all the gear and the?
No, it's a walk. You're not a pro. You're not a pro. You just.
But what made you do that decision, though, Michael? There's something in you that went, I need to do this. I want to do something different. I kind of need to do this. And even in your 40s as well, there's got to be something.
I think because I didn't ever have an option like that when I was young. You know, we never had holidays. We had one holiday with my dad, ever.
Yeah.
He was always at work.
Where was that?
We went to Germany.
Okay.
He was the funny thing was, I suppose, he hit Gold Beach on D-Day at 8:15 in the morning. Battery Sergeant Major Dickson, firing as fast as he could, because it was them or you, you know. And he went right through to the relief of Belsen, from Battle of Normandy, Arnhem and all that, really, anything could have happened, you know. But then he was in the Army of Occupation for 12 months in the Harz Mountains, and he became very friendly with the German people, and he liked their shtick, you might say, you know. And when he came back, he and a pal of his, they bought a shop in Howden from a German family, and in the shop was working my mum, whose father had a shop in Sunderland, but she had enough of her father. She went to work for this other family somewhere else, and they liked the look of each other. And there you go. So you think you would think that there would be a big reservoir of resentment or hatred of the Germans, and yet he came back and married a German girl.
Yeah.
You know? And it didn't go down too well with my Irish Catholic grandmother, because she was 5 years older than my dad. She was German, or rather German.
German, yeah.
And she was Lutheran. So it was, you know, you want to pick three big no's. And
That's a hard sell, isn't it?
my mum had them all. And they had an uneasy relationship. I can remember that as a little lad. And yet I loved them both. And it kind of it all hung together somehow, you know.
Yeah. Imagine Christmas dinners, can you? The tension across the table, you know.
Well, I don't think it wasn't as bad as that.
Was there an underlying just thing? Or?
I think so. Your kids always know.
Of course.
Kids always know, but you know.
Yeah. So this kind of, I'm intrigued about you kind of wanting to walk and kind of do this thing in your 40s. So is this giving you some kind of relief from the business side of life as well? Are you kind of finding something for you? Is it kind of taking you away from that space?
Yeah, it's utterly selfish. You're completely self-absorbed in that sort of thing. And I used to go with my neighbour Jeff, and I was happy for him to map read, and because it seemed he knew where he was going. And then we went. That was until we went up Crinkle Crags in Langdale, and he used to like to read the Telegraph from cover to cover before we ever went anywhere. And I was like a caged animal, and I wanted to get out amongst it, you know. And so we always set out a bit late, and this was February, and we stopped. It was about 1 o'clock, and had something to eat at somewhere called the Three Tarns, which is the start of the Crag Ridge. And during that time, dense fog descended. And it's not complicated if you've got a compass, because it's a north-south heading depending on which way you go. But we didn't bother looking, and I thought that he knew where we were, and we didn't. And it was. So we were in Langdale, which is sort of a U-shape like that. The crags run along the top, and we blundered around up and down this, trying to find a route off, but we didn't really, because we became quickly disorientated, which is what happens. Mm-hmm. And whichever route we picked, it could have taken us anywhere. But we got to the stage that the temperature was dropping, the light was falling, it was February. Mm-hmm. We needed to get down. And so we did, into Eskdale, which is that side. Our car was over here.
It's a long way around.
And so I remember jogging. Eskdale's a long valley. Yeah. And we jogged down there until we finally got to, it was still functioning then, a telephone box at the bottom of Hard Knot Pass. And I think I might, somebody, either he or I must have had something with us. No mobile phones, but not that it would have worked anyway if we'd had one. And I rang home and just said to my wife, write down this number, ring me back. Pardon? Write down this number, ring me back. And I hung up. And she rang me back, thank God. I said, where are you? I said, we're at the bottom of Hard Knock Pass. And I need a taxi. You need a taxi. I said, well, could you ring where we're staying? Here's the number. And ask them to give me a call. That probably makes more sense. Okay. Because she's always anxious whenever I go anywhere, you know. Well, especially
That's after this, yeah.
And so the fellow of this little place we were staying, he rang us back and he said, "Where are you?" I said, "Bottom of Hard Knock Pass. I think we're going to be late for dinner." "I think you are." I said, "Could you get us a taxi?" He said, "You're kidding me, aren't you? A taxi? There's nobody going to come for you there." So he said, "I'll come and get you." The place was in Alta Water, and when we eventually, as soon as, after that, we had to wait probably half an hour, 40 minutes, and as soon as we stopped moving, the pair of us started to shiver.
Yeah.
Hypothermia. And you suddenly realise how dangerous that could have been. Mm-hmm. And we both went into the phone box and cuddled. In a heterosexual sort of way, you know. So, yeah.
But it's that, because what happens if you didn't come down? And this is what happens all the time, isn't it? The weather changes on a dime and then you kind of stuck.
Well, there was that, but there was never any other incident like that until 2013. And I was doing a solo walk and on the Kentmere Horseshoe, and I'd done all the hard work, and I was just starting to descend from Kentmere Pike. Came over a very high stile, and I was just thinking, it's quite high, this, and came down and thought, yeah, go carefully on this, and then thought, right, okay, I'm going to give her a ring shortly. I think we should go out tonight because it's only 2:00. And I walked about, I don't know, a couple of metres and slipped on the grass. And as I fell, I knew I'd heard something snap. I broke my ankle.
Of all the things as well, when you're walking.
And I lay there for a while and thought, I may not have, I'm sure I heard something. No, I'll be all right. And then I stood up. And I hate walking poles with a vengeance. But I took them. No, I only took one. I'd look in my cupboard and I thought, I've got more than this. Because people kept buying me them. I don't like the bloody things.
Chucked it in the cupboard.
So I chucked it in the cupboard. But I could only find one that and I thought, I'm not going to use it anyway, so I only took one. And did I regret only having one? It took me 4.5 hours to get down. On my backside and around screes and all. Not big screes because there's not that much of it, but you don't think there is until you're trying to walk over it with a broken ankle.
I was going to say, it's a long way and a long time to be in pain.
It was.
It is.
I'm going to assume you didn't go out that night then.
No, I got home about, because Kentmere that's because you're outside Ambleside there. It's that's about 2.5 hours, and I was very cold by the time I got to the car, and I was fully dressed. I had a waterproof jacket on, fleece and stuff, but it had been quite cold. But it would normally I would have been down in an hour, 4.5 hours, and when I got in, Marissa said, "Right, we'll head off to A&E." And I said, no, I can't be. but you've got a broken ankle. I said, it'll still be broken in the morning, don't worry. And I jumped in the bath and had a can of beer.
Wouldn't give you that in the hospital.
No, and we went down the next morning, and yeah, it was. And I thought, oh God. But there you go.
Yeah. Imagine sitting in the bath with his leg out.
I know.
I just got that picture.
It's idyllic, isn't it? Yeah.
Well,
Fantastic.
I was going to ask you back to the business. So you went from how many stores do you have now?
35.
35. Does that feel like such a massive leap from 2, or have you just adjusted over the time?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to think. By the time we left Factory 1, we'd gone from 5 to 12. And that was a deliberate act because we had to have the difficulty with establishing an EC approved food factory. This was in the early 90s. There was a 1990 Food Act, but there was also EC legislation. So the degree of servicing the building needed was exploded. And because we had so many different product groups, nothing's ever been simple. There were all sorts going on. There were all sorts of different production lines where, and all these products had to come together somehow to go out the same door at the end. Yeah. And that was an absolute nightmare to design. And it never really worked properly. And we've only 2 years ago, we've made yet another change to the building because things continuously change. Product A declines in sale. You've introduced a new product. Where are you going to put that? And the redesigns have been, and extensions have been all over the place. So if you ask me, would you design a factory like this today? No, I wouldn't. And so we had to get more revenue quickly to justify this, or get out of manufacturing, and that was the stark choice. And that's when we got into third-party supplies. And before the factory opened, I bought 2 wholesaling companies because I knew absolutely nothing about that market. So one company did nothing but peas pudding, nothing else.
Best one.
And I mean, we already did peas pudding, but not in the volume that this business did, and they just happened to be selling up. And the other company was had been a retail competitor of ours, but they'd concentrated their activity on ham production, and they had another market. So I thought, right, well, this is more risk, it's more complication. And we'd already opened a couple of new sites, went from 10 to 12 before the same year the factory opened. So I mean, it was a huge amount of activity, and that's how it really began. And that, no wonder I went walking. It was yeah. The years that followed, it was only that was 92. And then we had probably half a dozen years of consolidation. There was a lot of things to consolidate. We started dealing with the national multiples, and that was a whole new area of pain because of the amount of compliance that we had to get involved in.
How did that feel? Because I mean, I've had a bit of background doing that. And who did you go into first? Was it Morrison's, or where was that step from?
Let me just think. This came strangely via the peas pudding business.
Yeah.
Because it was such a niche market. They were putting peas pudding into, let me think, Safeway was their biggest customer. Safeway were bought out by Asda and Sainsbury's. That's how we got in there.
Yeah.
And we've grown into the others from more recently, the likes of B&M's and Home Bargains, and we do a bit of work for local independent wholesalers. So it's waxed and waned over the years, and about 60% of our volume goes into into the supermarket sector, and that's been okay so far. But we're currently looking at extending our retail estate, because over this last 25 years, it's meant that our gross margin's been continuously nibbled at.
Yeah.
Because when you get let's say, for example, national living wage, NI thing, which everybody's moaning about, and we certainly moan about it because we had to find another £1 million a year just from November. Strangely, we don't have a magic money tree, and you will struggle to get that amount of turnover back by putting your prices up. You've got to justify it line by line, ingredient by ingredient.
Well, especially when the customer's being squeezed as well at the same time.
Exactly, and it'll not do your volume any good, even if you get it all, and your margin will continue to decline, because all you'll ever recover is the next increase, if you recover it all. So it's continuously nibbling away at your net margin. And I mean, that really has become a problem, because I mean, we've been through COVID. Well, I know everyone has, but it's particularly acute. We've been through COVID. We've been through the cost of power, and the national minimum wage again and again, more and more compliance, and it conspires to divert you all the time from actually trying to make a living, and by recovering your margin, because it's proven virtually impossible. So it's a real quandary. I think you're aware that we've been through quite a significant rebrand process, and that's the next thing that we're also trying to roll out. But again, there's only so many ways you can spend the money that you've got available. You've got to have a weather eye on what may happen with the next budget in the autumn, what might happen with the national minimum wage, what might happen with further cranks to employee rights, and what that may mean in terms of sheer cost to you. You've only got so much room to manoeuvre, and so the idea of increasing the size of the retail estate, and by default decreasing the size of the wholesale business, not losing it, but decreasing its proportion, means you should, in theory, increase your gross margin. But that's a lot of work. That's a lot of investment, and in a time where there's a lot of uncertainty. So it doesn't help us sleep nights.
You're also changing the nature of your shops as well, though, aren't you? I've noticed.
Very much so.
So Mike took me to one. I know you've just opened one recently as well.
Shiny Row,
yeah.
So what's changed? What's changed about it?
Just the sort of food service element of it. The experience of your stores is changing.
Well, it is. I think we started this conversation by talking about the pork butcher, the delicatessen, because that's who we were. You could buy a pork chop, you could buy tripe, you could buy varieties of polony. Does anybody actually?
Polony.
We had at the peak, I think, 5 varieties of ham, 2 different types of pork. We dabble with things like pastrami, and I can't remember. Beerwurst we used to make. That market doesn't exist anymore.
What's changed, Michael, do you think? apart from just the customer. But
the change is that people don't shop in that manner anymore. They might in Kensington,
yeah,
but they don't in Jarrow.
yeah,
People one-stop shop. And the other thing, of course, is that you're not going to see as my mum might have buying 3 slices of ham and give me 8 sausages, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I mean that's the interesting thing. So go back to the Jarrow. I mean pre-Morrison's. I mean I remember the old arcade in Jarrow. There's a fishmonger in there. I mean I told you the story about the granddad with Cod's Row in Langerstein's and that. It was thriving, that town centre. And then obviously they brought Morrison's in, attracted lots of people in from outside of Jarrow, but it also changed the entire makeup of that shopping centre.
It did. I mean, we've been there since '83.
Yeah.
And it was always a very strong site. But it's certainly declined. And, well, they're going to start demolishing one side of the walkway we're on, because most of it's empty.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of things. So the thing about, I mean, we can all moan about it and say, I wish it wasn't like that anymore. But you've got to deal with the reality and adapt accordingly. You can't. No. So that idea of regular multiple purchases that we used to enjoy, it's gone. It's nothing we've done. The market's moved.
Yeah.
I mean, even look at in the last 10 years, and especially since COVID, you've seen the rise of credit card shopping. You've seen the rise of Uber, Deliveroo, etc. You've seen further contraction in the marketplace because there's a lot of people were shaken out during that period, and even things like the increase in power and God knows what. It's utterly changed the shopping environment, but itself, because it's harder and harder for anybody to make a living on small multiple sales. I mean, how many local bakers are there left? Are there any butchers left? There's 1, 2. There used to be, there'd be 3 of each on every high street. All decent local producers, you know. Yeah. They've gone. When I think back to when I first kicked off, there were Ibbetsons in Sunderland were well known. There were Newbolds in Middlesbrough, Fawcett's of Richmond.
Dewhurst were a butcher in there.
Dewhurst,
yeah.
Crawford's the bakers, Carrick's the bakers. In our game, there was further down country. There were Fletcher's in Hull, Walker's in Leicester, and I knew none of them exist. Ibbetsons have their original site in Jackie White's Market in Sunderland. They're still there, but I mean, I bought 2 sites from Herbert Ibbetson back in '99. And but they're no longer sustainable.
Yeah.
So we've adapted, and you can. But with the design of the shops now, we've got I think is it 4 or 5 like this, where you've got a bank of self-select fridges and freezers on either side with deli products, fresh sausages, that sort of thing, and then if you want something to eat now or a build your own sandwich, that sort of thing, that's across the back of the shop. It's much more efficient to man because they haven't got to strip counters every night and clean everything down, but there are no loose product sales anymore, other than sandwiches, other than build your own sandwich. So and everything else that we make, from peas pudding, as we've covered many times, to coleslaws and chicken tikka and God knows what in a pot. All that range, it's just self-select.
Yeah.
But it's the way of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, we brought up Peters quite a few times, and Peters was a staple more. It was bigger than Greg's when I was a kid. Now, obviously, it's flipped, hasn't it? And I don't even know if there is. I think I saw one Peters van about a month ago, and I was like, "Oh, Peters van!" I haven't seen them around forever.
Peter's Cathedral Bakers, they had, I'm sure they had about 70 sites. And I think I met Peter Knowles once, I think. I went to look at a prover in his place, I think, and it was a great, I mean, the factory's still there. It's now, oh dear God, begins with a C. What do you, Couplands.
Couplands, yeah. Right, okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, they were bought by the Issa brothers, I think, who were the owners of Asda. So I'm not really sure where Couplands sit. But I mean, there are still, in bakery terms, Eleanor and Mike went down to meet the two of the next generation from Bird's bakery operation there in Derby and Leicester, and that's that seems to have survived that transition. And there's greenhouses in Bolton. I think they're quite a big operation, but there aren't many. There aren't anything like there used to be. You know.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a renaissance, hasn't there? We've had people on here like you look at the likes of Block and Bottle, who are like sort of what they say is craft butchers, and Pink Lane Bakery, who are they're sort of nostalgic because they're a version of something that we once recognised.
Yeah, and
pivoted according to the time, I guess.
You know, if you've got a trader who's dedicated like that and works it themselves, it works. It can work, and you can get a good living. And it's very difficult for us. We can't really go backwards.
Yes.
That's the problem, because ours has become a volume game. We can't reverse, not easily.
Yeah.
So
do you feel that pressure though, to sort of innovate? You're a traditional business, and I guess you're innovating in terms of how you do things and how you change. But do you feel like a pressure from a product point of view to try and adapt to what everybody else is doing, or do you just feel kind of like you've pinned your colours to the mast and that's who you are and what you do?
I think there's a bit of both, inevitably. It's innovate or die.
Yeah.
But you've got to be very clear what you stand for, and that it's easily muddied. It's easily muddied. You've got to keep reminding yourself, what are we known for? So why would we do that? Or we need to do this because we're losing too much market share. It's a balance.
Yeah. Could talk for hours.
I know.
You've just reminded me though, just before we go on to the menu, I've just remembered our first meeting. So I met you just before lockdown.
All right.
And it wasn't in any of this, guys. It was when I still worked for Department for Trade. And remember, it was the China link. Did anything ever come of that? Do you remember?
The Outer Mongolia Food Federation.
Yes.
How could I forget? Well, that was interesting because it turned. Hang on now. Our technical manager, Steve Walsh's brother, was he a lecturer at Sunderland University?
Possibly.
Well, he had something to do with this, and I don't know if he said something to Steve, and I can't remember the whole dynamic.
I got really excited. I was thinking, we're going to sell Saveloys to Shanghai.
Well, it was
Yeah, it's a good selfie, isn't it?
what happened was I think they were representatives of the biggest dairy plant in Outer Mongolia, which sounds like, well, it doesn't sound very impressive, but apparently it is massive. Absolutely, it's a big place, Mongolia, and there's a lot of them. So these folk, I think there was half a dozen of them. They'd been to, I can't remember which, they'd been to a big plant. They were interested in us because they could see production on a much smaller scale. I mean, we knock out about 60 tons of product a week, but compared to, I don't know, any single product manufacturer, when we do lots of smaller runs, that would be insignificant to them. So they were curious, but not that bothered. But I think the interest was that there was a degree of vertical integration, and you could see that product go right through to its position on a counter in one of our shops. So they came first to the factory and didn't stay that long. Got their photograph taken in front of our branded sign and unveiled something in Chinese, which strangely enough I couldn't read. And then we took them off up to Prince Edward Road shop, our oldest shop. And I rang Sue, the manager up there, and said, could you put out a trestle table and just put some stuff on for them to sample? I said, but I wouldn't, I'm led to believe they've all had a full English. So I wouldn't be offended. I wouldn't be offended if they don't bother. But just put out a good spread and we'll just, and feed it to the customers. And so we went up there and they were all over the stuff like a swarm of locusts. Which I
want to know what was on that table.
I can't remember now. I can't remember, but there have been cooked sausages and Saveloy presumably, and bits of pies and pastries and sandwiches chopped up into bite-sized bits, stuff like that.
Some peas pudding on there as well.
Oh, I think there definitely was. There definitely was. But at the end of it, I got an approach from the student interpreter, whose family, he said, there were a few phone calls. His family had restaurant interests all over Mongolia, so he said, and he was a very bright lad. I remember that, and bossed this meeting. And there were a few calls, and he was interested in the possibility of opening one of our shops. I don't know. I'll say Ulaanbaatar. I've no idea. It was somewhere else. It wasn't Ulaanbaatar. And then it occurred to me that there was a fella he had a fish and chip place in North Yorkshire, and people used to get taken to Castle Howard, and then for fish and chips, because it was a route that Xi Jinping had followed with David Cameron. And I thought, well, shy boy's getting out. So I rang this bloke up, called, and explained what was going on. I said, what was your experience with this, and did it work, and is it still going, and so forth? And basically it seemed that it had been a fairly convoluted process. And he did mention that they didn't pay him very quickly. And I thought, hang on, you set up a site in outer Mongolia. The complexities of that must be enormous. Yeah. How you build something that looks like this there. Yeah. And then how it's funded, and what's the contract look like, and what happens if the contract goes sour. Mm-hmm. What happens if there's an embargo put on trade between? And I'm thinking, this sounds like a nightmare. And but of course, then COVID came. And
that was it.
That was it. So I don't know. Maybe there are 10,000 people in Ulaanbaatar still waiting for a taste of a Saveloy Dip.
So 73 years, in another 73 years, you might be all over Mongolia.
You know what I've got in my head? This is the flag on the floor, not the flag on the Dicksons.
Dicksons.
Flapping. Still waiting to kind of put when you kind of stop your growth.
Oh, Michael doing a climb.
Yeah. Put it at the peak. Yeah. I just one flag and people go, what happened to Dicksons? Should we go to the menu?
Yes, let's go to the menu.
Okay, right. Well, I tell you
We've
what.
got a menu.
Right,
Got some questions.
Right, we've got a menu with questions, Michael. But I'm going to throw one out there from myself. Saveloy. We've got to ask Michael about the Saveloy.
How do you have it?
How do you have it? How do you have your Saveloy dip? Are you a fan, or is it a pork dip, or what is it?
Am I a fan?
Are you a fan? Like, which one is it?
Are you serious?
Like, yeah, I am serious. Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Does the Pope pray? I had one. Let me just see.
I'm actually thinking about one, because I'm walking past the Dicksons on the way home.
Just a moment.
I like I'm getting it wrong.
No, well, you're getting in trouble.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I've... here it is. This was my lunch on Thursday. And you can't see what's inside the pack, but I was so taken by the branding that I sent this to our ops board, Chris, Eleanor and Mike, and said, I think we've cracked that. And then I got down to eating the contents, which was a Saveloy dip, peas pudding and stuffing, and mustard.
And mustard.
God, it's got to be.
But the trick is, don't upset the staff, because what they'll do is put all the mustard in one spot.
Surprising.
Just to get their own back. Because that's exactly what I've told them to do with rude customers.
I love that.
That's a good technique. The branding looks really nice. I can see that, yeah.
I have to admit, I've been a fan sometimes of adding onions.
Well, I know Mike introduced all sorts of
you did the twist
Saveloy
thing,
twists.
Yeah.
And
Saveloy twist,
I'm a purist. I'm a purist. Yeah. I like a Saveloy with peas pudding, stuffing and mustard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yes, it needs to be dipped.
What time is your heaven one shut tonight?
5.
Yeah.
Oh, I've missed that. Damn it.
I always ask because I was a pork dip lad. My brother was a Saveloy. It was that, but it's that combination of the stuffing and the peas pudding. It was fantastic.
Well, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, Marissa likes a pork sandwich, but she can't.
Sorry, how could you just scoot over?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, bit of a mic. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, the camera. Yeah.
Has this been recorded?
So yeah, you're talking about the pork dip.
Well, yeah, but she has a thing about crackling, and but she always says, and she'll have stuffing, not peas pudding. Now her father, Gino Antonio Notarianni, he wanted everything on, and he and his sisters and his brothers were all big Saveloy Dip fans. Go figure. I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. And I did speculate whether they might have actually bought them from my German grandfather in Walworth Street, because it wouldn't have been such a walk from High Street West, where they were, But I'd not very often, because I don't think her mum really approved that much. I don't think she thought it was proper Italian cookery.
Yeah.
But Saveloy, just leave it there. Just leave it there.
Somebody mentioned a savoury dip as well, and we went down the rabbit hole because you never know what you're going to get. But it's all the gnarly ends and all that. Really nice. I forget who it was. Was it the Metroland lads? They were talking. Somebody mentioned savoury dip. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Well,
yeah, that kind of took us back. I forgot all about it until they mentioned it.
I'm afraid that's food safety regulations mean.
Why? Because you don't know, you can't list.
Because you couldn't trace what was in it.
Yeah. Delight. That's what was in it.
Got a time when we're talking about food waste as well,
Yeah, but that was it. There could be cuttings of ham or chopped pork or it's just
meat.
Yeah, but
delicious meat.
You couldn't guarantee. I mean, we had flack when certainly one of the Ibbotson shops that we bought. Both of them. There was hell on. There was hell on, and I understood it, but we simply couldn't do it. Because we couldn't guarantee the traceability of it.
A minute of silence for the
Sorry.
A minute silence.
Bow the head. Just a minute silence for a savoury dip. Well, Brilliant. So
Right.
that's ticking that box. I'm going to hand you this, Michael. Can you ask any of these on there? Pick something from the menu. Doesn't matter where, and we'll know what it is.
Last question's going to be interesting.
I know. I'm nervous.
I'm nervous as well.
Oh, you're asking. Oh, sorry, you're
So
asking me what I want.
You can pick a top.
Yeah, pick something from the menu. What do you think? Anything
pick
take
a
your
topic.
fancy? We've already done Saveloy, so which one do you think?
3 second rule.
Oh, all right.
That's
Okay.
a good one.
So 3 second rule. So I'll take that list.
That's only because I don't know what it means.
Oh well, this is this bit of nuance to this question, isn't there? So it's if you drop something on the floor, how long is it sat there before you're picking it up and eating it? But the nuance is depends on what it is, and have you got rules? Is there a variation on the rule? Like pizza, front
This
down.
is
You're not
domestic.
doing
This
that,
is at
right?
home. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a leading question if ever I've heard one.
If you drop the Saveloy in your kitchen, I mean, you could rinse it and then eat it, but are you just going, nah, 3 second rule, I'm straight in?
Yeah, my response might be more ambiguous in a domestic environment.
All right.
But in a
Acknowledged.
in a business environment, forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
There can't be any grey.
Oh, definitely not.
No.
In your kitchen.
I just want to make that point
Oh, definitely not.
in case this is edited.
Oh, no.
In case this is edited and used in evidence.
Oh, we're definitely not going to do that. We've just mourned the death of the
Savoury
Saveloy
dip, yeah.
So, yeah. So, do you have one? Have you got a rule? No.
I'm a pragmatist.
Yeah.
What a good
Because
answer.
for me, it's about waste as well. You know, chickens never ever. You're rinsing, you're finding something to rinse that thing off and going in. Now, if it was like cucumber, could you? I mean, you'd rinse it
Cucumber?
off.
No, well,
If it was on gravel, do you know what I mean?
Gravel always comes up, doesn't
Gravel comes up. Gravel's it's about
Texture.
the
it? You drop
texture.
ice
and
cream on gravel, that's
it's
it.
about
Game
the-
over, isn't it?
The surface you're dropping it on. Ice cream you're done for forever, you know. So
The least favourite's like,
can't really-
under your feet in the
you
car.
cannot brush off ice cream, can you? You know.
I don't know where this is going. I think we've exhausted this topic. I mean, if it's, I don't know. I haven't really. It's not something that occupies my mind really. I'm not that clumsy.
All right, okay.
I'm going to take the answer. I'm a pragmatist. I think
I'm a
that tells you everything.
pragmatist. No, that's
Great.
That's perfect because it covers lots of ground. So
It does.
Julie
Ground,
knows.
particularly the ground you drop your
gravel
food on.
ground. Yeah.
Okay.
ground.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you must have dropped something up on them mountains. There's got
Oh, the mountains. Oh, hang on.
Come on.
Let's have a think.
Here we are. Different place.
Not really. It doesn't hang around long enough.
No.
I sit down and I'm absolutely gagging for something to eat, and it's gone.
So what
What's
kind of food?
What's your food of choice in the mountains?
What do you take up there?
Well, I remember. I mentioned Trevor Manchella, my old late friend. Well, Trevor, he was. Let's say he was built more for comfort than speed, and he. I took him on a couple of walks, and he also suffered from vertigo. So,
It's good to
we didn't go very high, but there was one particular walk we did in North Yorkshire, and he said, "What are you going to bring? What are you going to bring? Why, can you not make your own sandwiches? Oh, you're not going to bring some stuff, bring some stuff." And I said, "Well, I tell you what, I'll bring a Dickson's tasting menu." Oh, sounds great. And two of his sons and another pal of mine went on this thing. But I thought, if I give him a bag full of stuff, he'd just sit and eat it all. So they had to walk for at least half an hour before I gave them anything to eat. And then I scheduled.
You're like a carrot and a donkey, just kind of leading them
Come
forward.
on, one more mile.
It was,
Come on.
it was the only way. And
I'm just imagining laying like a trail.
Like cartoon, like a knapsack on your shoulder, the Dickson's back,
yeah.
following the red logo.
yeah.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
No. Trevor, he had a good appetite. I remember there was a few of them, a few friends round our house one night, and Marisa is an industrial cook. I only married her for her mother. That's a joke. And she's self-taught because she was always at work. She used to always work at the shop. And so when we were married, she couldn't cook a thing, but she's a very, very good cook. And just to show you why I took that extreme measure with Trevor was because at the end of this dinner and lots of wine, Marisa brought some cheese out. And Trevor, who, he was always hungry. And he picked up a wheel of brie and started to eat it. Until his wife Sandra in horror said, "Trevor!" And that's true.
You let it cut it, Trevor.
Yeah. My goodness. He had a good appetite.
Yeah.
He had a good appetite. But that was definitely it was definitely a safe policy on that walk.
That's great. Last question.
You're going to ask it. You've got to
I
ask
know,
it,
because
not
I'm
me.
going to get wrong again here. What's your Greg's order, Michael?
All right, I'll be honest. The only thing I've had from Greg's, because at Penrith there used to be a little chef. The Penrith services just at the start, just at the end of the A66 above the M6. The little chef closed. I used to always go in there for a cup of tea before I headed off, just to check where I was heading next, because I might vary my route, go to a different area and sort of thing, and to take advantage of their toilet facilities. And unfortunately, little chef went, and Greg's opened there, and then I'm stuck with a quandary. What do I do? I stick at a cup of tea.
Is it a good cup of tea?
Yeah.
It's very hot.
I think that's a perfect close.
Well, it would have been better if you hadn't brought the name up. But,
You did pause before you said it, so I knew what I was in for there. Brilliant.
Oh,
Excellent.
I
Thank
wasn't
you very
sure
much,
if you
Michael.
wanted my biting sarcasm or stony silence.
A bit of
You got
both.
somewhere in
Perfect
between.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.